Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Battle Through the Heavens based on novel. So let's start. The hearts of everyone quivered after hearing the words of Old Man Hun Mo. Many startled eyes looked to that space. Was there actually an expert, whom they were unaware of, hidden there? The old demon from the small pill tower. Xiao Yan's eyes also looked in that direction. A thought passed through his heart. Could it be that this old man Hun Mo was referring to the mysterious ancestor of the small pill tower? His heart involuntarily rejoiced upon coming to this conclusion. Regardless of the situation, both the pill tower and him were on the same side. This mysterious ancestor would likely not feel any enmity against Xiao Yan's group if he appeared. I knew that the Hun clan would not play by the rules. That space was quiet for a moment as all gazes present focused on it. Finally, it began to fluctuate. An unusually old and experienced voice suddenly remarked. The ripple in the space became more intense the moment this sound appeared. Soon, a bull stepped onto empty air and appeared in this space while it let out a low moo. The eyes of Xiao Yang's group landed on this bull, or perhaps the person on the bull. However, they were startled after getting a good look at his appearance, because an elderly person was not what they saw. The person on the bull had a small figure. He was wearing ordinary rough clothes. His eyes were clear, and his face appeared tender. From his appearance, he appeared as though he was a boy in his teens. Numerous pairs of eyes were completely stunned as they looked at the youth on the back of the bull. They were momentarily speechless. They had not expected the elderly voice from earlier to have come from the mouth of a youth. First elder mentioned that the ancestor likes to have fun experiencing lives. He continues to borrow bodies to be reborn. From the looks of it, this is indeed true. Old demon, you still like to act mysterious like in the past. Old man Hun Mo looked at the cow-rearing youth. He coldly laughed coldly, but his originally ancient well-like eyes had gained an additional fear. I would not have needed to show myself if the Hun clan played by the rules. The cow-rearing youth stretched his lazy waist and smiled as spoke. His unusually clear eyes looked at Old Man Hun Mo as he laughed. This rule was agreed upon back then, yet the Hun clan has actually dispatched you. I wonder what the clan's intentions are. My Hun clan must obtain the demonic flame essence. Old demon, it is best that you do not be a busybody. My clan head is very interested in you. After so many years, your current self has probably already reached the peak of the 9th tier of the Xian pill. Should you advance further, that will be the legendary tier 9 golden pill. Even my clan head will not be able to restrain himself from attacking you. Old man Hun Mo laughed a strange laugh. The cow header faintly smiled upon hearing this claim. He replied, it is not as though he has craved me only recently, but even if I were to deliver myself to his mouth, do you think he would dare to eat me? HMPH, you should stop trying to use your age as an advantage. Once my clan head exits his retreat, he will naturally force you to understand the fate of opposing my Hun clan. Old man Hun Mo's eyes turned cold as he spoke. Bang! The black light curtain a short distance away was suddenly blasted apart after Old Man Hun Mo spoke. A figure flew back. One of them spat out a couple mouthfuls of fresh blood along the way. Only then did he stabilize his body while wearing a pale expression. From his appearance, he was clearly the chief of the Hall of Souls, who had unleashed the light curtain earlier in an attempt to trap Xiao Chen. Hun Mieshing, you have really humiliated the name of the chief of the Hall of Souls. Old man Hun Mo knit his brows and made a comment, after seeing how miserable the chief of the Hall of Souls looked. Old ghost, you should stop trying to suppress me with your age. You should be even more aware of that fellow's background compared to me. The chief of the Hall of Souls wiped the trace of blood off from the corner of his mouth as he furiously cried out. He had already guessed the other party's identity when he took out that huge blood-colored axe earlier. The only person who could use this strange weapon in such a sharp fashion, within the Xiao clan, was the renowned Xiao clan's blood axe Xiao Chen from back then. However, no one had expected this person, who had gone missing, to appear in such a place at this moment. Blood axe Xiao Chen, it is unexpected that you have survived until now. However, it could be considered a blessing. If you had been in the Xiao clan, your fate would have been similar to Xiao Xian and the rest. Old man Hun Mo lifted his head. He looked at Xiao Chen, as Xiao Chen slowly walked over while holding his large blood-colored axe. An ice-cold luster flashed across his eyes. Xiao Chen's footsteps paused. He glanced at old man Hun Mo and slightly frowned. He sensed an aura that was far stronger than the chief of the Hall of Souls from the other party. This aura was such that it would not be easy for him to defeat the other party. Ha ha, the Xiao clan is indeed an insect that will not remain still no matter how it is beaten down. Xiao Chen, you deserve to be congratulated for living until now, the cow-herding youth slightly smiled. He was extremely old and it was possible for him to address Xiao Chen, an old demon, who had lived for thousands of years, as an equal. You are, that fellow from the pill tower back then. Xiao Chen's eyes glanced at the young cowherd. Although Pill Tower Elder's appearance had drastically changed, Xiao Chen was still extremely familiar with that unique aura. Moreover, there seemed to be only one person in the entire world who possessed such an aura. The young cowherd smiled. His smile appeared extremely sentimental on that youthful face, but everyone understood that an ancient feeling of having seen through everything was hidden within that smile. Ancestor. The first elder from the small pill tower had finally recovered from his shock at this moment. He immediately knelt down. In his excitement, even tears had begun to flow down his old face. Even he had only managed to meet this guardian of the pill tower a couple of times. He was incomparably excited now that they had met again. Ha ha, you are little Mo, right? It is unexpected that you have also become a Do Xing, the young cowherd smiled. He gently waved his small hand and the first elder was lifted to his feet. Now is not the time to catch up on old times. Xiao Yang, hand the demonic flame essence to me. Xiao Yang was slightly startled upon hearing the words of this young cowherd. He raised his head and saw a warm smile on the youth's small face. Although this smile appeared extremely strange on a youth, one would instantly trust him for some unknown reason. This old fellow has turned into a child. How strange, Ziyang softly muttered beside Xiao Yang's ear. Isn't this something that you liked to do most back then? Xiao Yang bitterly smiled and shook his head. He clenched his teeth. With a wave of his sleeve, he threw the black light pillar toward the young cowherd. Humph! Old man Hun Ho's eyes became slightly cold when Xiao Yang threw the black light pillar. A cold snort sounded beside everyone's ears like muffled thunder. That snort contained an extremely powerful spiritual assault, causing the heads of many people to emit a giddy feeling. Advanced 5-star Do Xing. What a frightening strength this old fellow boasts. Xiao Yang's eardrums emitted waves of piercing pain. His heart was filled with shock. The strength of this old fellow was far too frightening. If they were to fight head-on, Xiao Yang would probably not even be able to receive one strike. Old man Hun Mo's body disappeared after the cold snort left his mouth. The next instant, he appeared near the light pillar and reached out to grab it. However, old man Hun Mo suddenly discovered that the space around him had strangely undergone a change while his hand was about to land on the light pillar. The space shook and his body appeared where the young cowherd had been. The youth, however, had strangely appeared at the spot where old man Hun Mo had been earlier, as though the both of them had changed positions in an instant. Such an unexpected swap had caused everyone to feel flabbergasted. They had not even detected the reason for the switch. Spatial shift. 6-star Do Xing. You have actually broken through to the 6th star of the Do Xing class. Old man Hun Mo stood in the air at a loss. He suddenly recovered an instant later, and involuntarily cried out in shock. There existed a great gap between every level within the Do Xing class. The chief of the Hall of Souls was able to easily defeat Ziyang, after leaping from the advanced 4th star of the Do Xing class to the initial 5th star of the Do Xing class. One could gain an idea of the enormous gap between the two from this. Even though this old man Hun Mo was an advanced 5-star Do Xing, he did not possess an ability to retaliate against this young cowherd, whose strength had reached the 6th star. The chief of the Hall of Souls, the deputy chief, and Hun Feng revealed somewhat ugly expressions when they saw this exchange. They were completely silent. A 6-star Do Xing was extremely rare even in the Han clan. Only a handful of grand elders possessed such a strength. It was unexpected that the ancestor of the small pill tower had reached such a terrifying level. No wonder the Han clan would stop the Hall of Souls each time it wanted to attack the pill tower. It was because the small pill tower could call on such an existence. The young cowherd ignored the exclamation of disbelief from old man Hun Mo. He grabbed the black light with his small hand. He slowly observed the demonic flame essence within it in front of Xiao Yan's anxious eyes. Old demon, are you planning to be enemies with my Han clan? Old man Hun Mo cried out in a stern voice while wearing a dark and cold expression. How foolish, the young cowherd glanced at him and shook his head. He randomly tossed the light pillar into the sky. Old man Hun Mo revealed a joyous face. He was just about to snatch it when he hurriedly stopped himself, because of the young cowherd's next sentence. Purifying demonic lotus flame, you are indeed worthy of being ranked 3rd on the heavenly flame ranking. You have purposefully allowed yourself to be sealed in order to see them fight among themselves. All you need to do is to benefit from their fighting. You have hidden yourself very deeply, but you cannot hide from me, come out. The young cowherd slowly lifted his head. He stared at the churning black light pillar in the sky. His clear eyes stared at the demonic flame essence inside as he indifferently laughed. The young cowherd's indifferent voice slowly sounded. Everyone's expressions drastically changed. Numerous pairs of eyes landed on that churning black light pillar in the sky while feeling their mind go numb. This purifying demonic lotus flame had allowed itself to be captured. How can it be possible? Hu Yao and the few experts who had cooperated earlier muttered with stunned faces. If this was the case, this purifying demonic lotus flame was indeed a little too frightening. A heavenly flame that schemed against people. Even people like them were only witnessing such a thing for the first time. This? Xiao Yang's face was filled with surprise as he exchanged glances with Zun Er. After which, he slowly nodded. Given the frightening strength of the ancestor of the small pill tower, it would be quite difficult for him to make a mistake. Humph, what nonsense. Regardless of how strong the purifying demonic lotus flame is, it would definitely have difficulty escaping my Han clan's Qianluo sealing demon formation. The chief of the Hall of Souls revealed a somewhat ugly expression as he spoke in a deep voice. The eyes of old man Mo Hun by the side flickered. He stared at the black light pillar in the sky, but he did not voice any doubt. He had came into contact with the ancestor of the pill tower a couple of times. Naturally, he understood that the ancestor of the pill tower was not someone who uttered nonsense. Since the youth had put it this way, he ought to be confident in his words. The ancestor of the pill tower did not give an explanation, despite everyone's doubtful eyes. He merely observed the churning black light pillar. He finally spoke in a faint voice a moment later, after seeing that it had not reacted. Since you are unwilling to reveal yourself, I can only force you to do so. The ancestor of the pill tower flicked his finger after his words sounded. A black line suddenly erupted from the tip of his finger. The black line might appear weak, but space itself quietly formed a vacuum wherever it passed. It rushed toward the black light pillar with lightning-like speed. The speed of the black line was so quick that it left one speechless. In an instant, it was only half a foot from the light pillar, but the sealed demonic flame essence violently trembled before the black line struck it. An earth-shaking fire wave surged in all directions as the black light pillar exploded apart in front of everyone's stunned eyes. Old demon, you have ruined my plans again. Are you trying to seek death? Cream-white flames swept across the sky as a figure formed in this sea of flames. It was that white-robed purifying demonic lotus flame. The heavenly flame was glaring at the ancestor of the pill tower with a dark and cold expression as he furiously cried out. This fellow has really purposefully allowed himself to be sealed. The hearts of Xiao Yan and the others violently pounded upon seeing the figure form. The expression of the chief of the Hall of Souls became uglier. It was clearly extremely easy for the purifying demonic lotus flame to break the seal earlier. From this, one could tell that the words of the ancestor of the Pill Tower had indeed been true. This purifying demonic lotus flame had allowed itself to be sealed in order to reap the gains from their conflicts. This cunning was really on a different level. Purifying demonic lotus flame, your character is extremely brutal. If you are allowed to enter the Central Plains, you will definitely leave a destruction in your wake. It was due to this that the purifying demonic lotus saint chose to seal you when he was reaching the end of his life back then. Therefore, you cannot leave this place. The ancestor of the Pill Tower lifted his somewhat tender face, looked at the purifying demonic lotus flame standing in the air, and slowly explained. That old bastard. I accompanied him for 1,000 years. I at least put in the effort for him, yet he did not care about our ties and actually sealed me. Finally, he ended up suffering from my backlash. That was his retribution. Moreover, whether I can leave is not up to you to decide. Even though you have currently advanced to a 6-star Do Xing, it is still not enough to stop me. The purifying demonic lotus flame's eyes turned cold as he stated. The ancestor of the Pill Tower softly sighed. His eyes glanced at Old Man Hun Mo a short distance away. Seeing him look over, Old Man Hun Mo strangely laughed and said, Old demon, you should fight alone if you wish to deal with it. Our Hun clan does feel obligated to protect the whatever Central Plains. It will be easier for our Hun clan to capture it should it leave the demonic flame realm and head to the Central Plains. This old man Hun Mo was unusually cunning. Although he spoke without a care, he was clearly planning on idly watching tigers fight. He would wait for the ancestor of the Pill Tower and the purifying demonic lotus flame to fight. Then, he would benefit from the outcome when the time came. The ancestor of the Pill Tower was unsurprised when he heard Old Man Hun Mo's words. Hence, he withdrew his eyes. Elder, do you need us to fight? Xiao Yan cupped his hands together and asked. This purifying demonic lotus flame was unusually terrifying. Although the ancestor of the Pill Tower was unfathomable, it would definitely be an extremely intense battle if they were to fight. It is unnecessary. Currently, none of you will be able to help. The ancestor of the Pill Tower smiled and shook his head upon hearing this question. His toes pressed against the bowl. His short body penetrated the sea of fire and appeared in front of the purifying demonic lotus flame. He said, the seal that the purifying lotus demon saint had placed is not easily broken. Even though you have borrowed the world tide to tear through to the world, the seal will naturally reform, following the withdrawal of the world tide. As long as I delay you until that time comes, you will not be able to leave this place. In that case, we'll have to see if you have the ability to stop me. The purifying demonic lotus flame coldly laughed. Both of his hands suddenly changed. The cream-white flames that permeated the sky around him swiftly returned to him, before they agglomerated into a 100,000-foot-tall fire giant amid many stunned eyes. Demonic flame divine statue. The fire giant's legs were inserted into the sea of magma below. Its incomparably large body caused one's soul to tremble. With a punch from this giant, even an elite Do Xing would likely be shattered into nothing. Old ghost, die. The purifying demonic lotus flame stood on the head of the divine figure. His eyes looked at the ant-like figures below as he gave a dense smile. That demon flame statue suddenly lifted its mountain-like fist before throwing it toward the Pill Tower ancestor. This punch had only just been thrown when the surface of the sea of magma, 100,000 feet below, revealed a huge magma spiral that was tens of thousands of feet in size. Air itself seemed to crazily whistle. The expressions of Xiao Yang's group involuntarily became pale when they sensed this fist wind that was filled with a destructive force. Regardless of whether it was Zi Yang or Jiyu Nanhai, anyone who received this strike head-on would instantly turn into dust. The figure of the ancestor of the Pill Tower remained suspended in the sky. His eyes stared at the giant fist that seemed to fall like a meteorite. He widened his mouth and a bright golden light erupted from it. The light turned into an enormous light curtain that covered the sky. Bang! The giant fist of the statue violently smashed into the golden light curtain. A frightening wind assault immediately swept apart. One could hear a crack form in the space within 100,000 feet, before everything exploded into a charred black mess. The area around them blasted apart as the two fought. Pill merging sky. The finger of the ancestor of the Pill Tower was lifted. A drop of green blood seeped out of his pores. One seemed to be able to glimpse the strand of golden luster in that dense green color. This green-colored blood swiftly flew toward the demonic flame divine figure the moment it escaped the ancestor's body. It became larger as it flew. Within a short instant, it had turned into a 1,000-foot-large green light ray. The light ray was accompanied by a dense fragrance as it shot through the sky. Finally, it smashed into the chest of the divine statue made of demonic flames with lightning-like speed. Green light immediately filled one's vision, but one could see over half of the divine statue made of demonic flames melting away. The ability of this old demon is becoming more terrifying. He is even able to melt the demonic flame. A grave expression flashed across Old Man Hunmo's eyes in the distance after seeing the flame melt. Roar! The purifying demonic lotus flame became furious after the demonic flame statue was seriously damaged. Everything in the world possessed something that complemented it and something that was its nemesis. The actual form of the ancestor of the Pill Tower was a medicinal pill. Common sense dictated that he should be extremely afraid of such a flame, but as the strength of the ancestor from the Pill Tower increased, a mutation had begun to form in his body. This mutation suppressed things related to fire. This suppression had caused the purifying demonic lotus flame to feel a great pressure. Old demon, whoever dares hinder my escape today will be refined alive by me. Your actual form is a pill. I wish to see what you will turn into if I refine you again. The purifying demonic lotus flame roared at the sky. His body suddenly charged to the horizon. Many cream-colored lines of fire shot out in all directions. They shot across the entire demonic flame realm. Refining sky ancient array, appear. The purifying demonic lotus flame loudly cried out, after these fire lines shot deep into the realm, before a loud rumbling sound was emitted. After which, everyone was shocked to see 100,000-foot-large fire array slowly appear in the empty sky. Rumble. The endless magma sea begun to churn soon after the large array appeared in the sky. Soon, even it slowly formed an extremely huge fire formation in front of everyone's stunned eyes. Both the expression of the ancestor of the Pill Tower and the expression of Old Man Hunmo became ugly when these two fire formation appeared, one above, one below. Ha ha, old demon, you didn't expect this, did you? The large ceiling formation that the purifying demonic lotus saint had personally placed is being used by me. I have already comprehended all its mysteries during these few thousand years. Who will be able to fight me within this demonic flame realm now? The ancient array that covered the realm slowly rotated while the purifying demonic flame laughed to the sky. It is going to be troublesome this time around. Everyone observed these formations as they inhaled a breath of cold air. These terrifying formations were many times stronger than the Qianluo ceiling demon formation the chief of the Hall of Souls had used earlier. Ziyang and the others stared at the huge formations, one in the sky and one above the earth. A great wave seemed to be rising within their hearts. If either of these large arrays were to unleash even a little energy, they would easily kill everyone. While everyone was feeling shocked because of the sudden changes, Xiao Yan suddenly grabbed his forehead. That mysterious light cluster within his head suddenly trembled. That shaking appeared as though something was about to awaken. The fire array in the sky blotted out the sun. The two fire arrays appeared like two extremely huge fire plates that covered this realm from above and below. Xiao Yang's group appeared like ants within these two enormous plates. They seemed insignificant at a glance. He actually is able to control the great array placed by the purifying demonic lotus saint. Old Man Hunmo's eyes were filled with disbelief when he saw this unexpected change. He suddenly recovered a moment later, and hurriedly threw his eyes to the slowly rotating spatial tunnel some distance away. That was the path that led back to the central plains. Quick, retreat! Old Man Hunmo involuntarily cried out as his eyes flashed. His body took the lead to rush toward the spatial tunnel. This large array had been created by the purifying demonic lotus saint. Even though that ultimate expert, whom even the clan head of the Hun clan admitted he was no match for, still wielded a mighty reputation that was deeply imprinted into the ears of those who had heard about what he had done. The chief of the Hall of Souls group hesitated for a moment after seeing Old Man Hun Mo's flee. However, they could only clench their teeth and follow him with great unwillingness. Someone as strong as Old Man Hun Mo had turned into this homeless stray. From the looks of it, this large array was extremely terrifying. Old Man Hun Mo's decision to flee undoubtedly caused many to panic. The other elders from the ancient clan's expressions greatly changed. All of them briefly hesitated before clenching their teeth and following him. Although the temptation of the purifying demonic lotus flame was unimaginable, one needed to be alive to enjoy it. Zun Er and the others watched these people flee. They frowned and quickly swung their heads to Xiao Yan, but Xiao Yan was standing there holding his head as some pain vaguely surfaced on his face. Xiao Yan Gege, what has happened? Zun Er's face changed after seeing Xiao Yan's face. She hurriedly cried out. We should also leave. Xiao Yan clenched his teeth. His mind churned, causing his soul to repeatedly emit a giddiness. Although he did not understand how these large arrays were built, he was able to sense an annihilation force from the fluctuations present. If that force were to spread, everyone present would immediately turn into dust. Ha ha, it is too late to try and leave now. I will refine everyone here to be my fire slaves. Xiao Yang's words had only just left his mouth when the purifying demonic lotus flame in the sky 100,000 feet above wildly laughed. His finger gently pressed down on the spatial tunnel, and a cream-white magma pillar shot out of the huge array below. The magma struck the tunnel with a lightning-like momentum, shattering it into pieces. Old Man Hun Mo appeared in front of the collapsed spatial tunnel. His expression was gloomy. This purifying demonic lotus flame was not intending on letting any of them off. What should we do? The chief of the Hall of Souls and his group hurried over. He frowned and asked a question. How should I know? This demonic flame realm was built by the purifying demonic lotus saint. He is said to be in existence, which was closest to a Do-Di during that era. No one currently on the continent would be able to forcefully charge into the realm he created without passing through this tunnel. Don't tell me that we should simply wait and die. The deputy chief of the Hall of Souls grit his teeth and demanded an answer. It will not be easy to kill us. Old Man Hun Mo coldly laughed. His eyes quickly landed on the ancestor of the Pill Tower as he cried out in a deep voice, why don't we cooperate? Currently, he is in control of the refining sky ancient formation. Even you will not be a match for him in a one-on-one fight. The refining sky ancient formation is divided into the sky and the earth. I will deal with the sky array. The earth array will be left to you. The ancestor of the Pill Tower did not have time to argue with Old Man Hun Mo, who had rapidly changed his stance because of the situation. He immediately stated in a deep voice. All right. Xiao Chen, little ancient void dragon girl, Jiu Nanhai, you will all attack with me and deal with the sky array. The ancestor of the Hall of Souls turned his head, looked at Xiao Chen's group, and softly cried out. There was little time to consider too much at this moment. The spatial tunnel had been removed by the purifying demonic lotus flame. If they did not join hands to fight, all of them would be refined into the fire slaves of the purifying demonic lotus flame. Immediately, the group nodded. Their bodies moved and appeared beside the ancestor of the Pill Tower. Old Man Hun Mo was also trying to get some experts from other factions, who had reached the 4th star of the Doshin class, to join him while the ancestor of the Pill Tower was gathering helpers. Although these people were not really fond of Old Man Hun Mo, they could not care about much at this moment. Their lives were at stake. An inconsequential effort. Although I really hate that fellow, do you really think that I would have remained trapped in this place for thousands of years if the formation he had placed could be broken by you weaklings? The purifying demonic lotus flame coldly laughed after the Pill Tower ancestor and the others gathered together. A murderous intent surged within his eyes. He was too lazy to say anything more. With a change of his hand seal, those large formations, which covered the sky and the earth, rumbled and slowly rotated like discs. The energy of the realm quickly became extremely wild and violent as both large formations slowly rotated. Some of the experts, whose strength had reached the Ban Xing class, immediately paled. There were even some who ended up spitting up a mouthful of fresh blood. These large arrays had yet to unleash any attacks, but some were unable to endure any longer. The purifying demonic lotus saint really lived up to his reputation. Refining sky ancient formation, refine the sky into slaves. The purifying demonic lotus flame floated in the sky, as cream-white flame surged out of his body in all directions, and then poured into the large arrays. Bang! A cry sounded and the realm violently trembled. A circular cream-white light circle swiftly gathered from the edges of the large arrays. Finally, it gathered into a 1,000-foot-large cream-white pillar in front of many shocked eyes. The interior of the light pillar was filled with a destructive energy. Refine. The purifying demonic lotus flame revealed a dense expression on his face. He suddenly pointed his finger down. Both the sky and the earth arrays violently shook before two cream-white light pillars shot out like fountains. The targets of the light pillars were the ancestor from the Pill Tower and Old Man Hun Mo. Attack together. As this incomparably ferocious attack came closer, even someone as strong as the ancestor from the Pill Tower displayed an extremely grave expression. A low cry sounded as a drop of half-green and half-golden blood shot out from his finger. In the blink of an eye, it grew to a couple of 1,000 feet in size. A shocking energy fluctuation along with a dense pill fragrance spread from it. Xiao Chen and the others by the side also unleashed their powerful Do Qi while adopting grave faces. Their Do Qi followed close behind that blood light cluster, as they headed toward the cream-colored light descending from the sky. Old Man Hun Mo and the others below also unleashed all of their abilities. They combined their strength and ruthlessly charged toward the light pillar that was rushing up. Bang bang. The collision merely lasted for an instant. An earth-shaking explosion spread across the realm. That magma sea region below had formed a deep pit that was millions of feet in size. The magma inside had been pushed back hundreds of feet. Ha ha, what stubborn resistance. Refine. The eyes of the purifying demonic lotus flame flickered as he stood in the sky. He appeared to be in a somewhat crazy state. Both of his hands pressed down. The bloodlight cluster and Old Man Hun Mo's group below, which were bitterly blocking the attack, emitted a bang. They were completely destroyed. After the destruction of the obstructions, both light pillars began to fly through the sky with an extremely shocking speed. One chased after the ancestor of the Pill Tower, and the other chased after Old Man Hun Mo before they suddenly colliding together in the sky. From the distant sky, the purifying demonic lotus flame watched as a flame swiftly spread by millions of feet, with its center being the point where the light pillars had clashed. He involuntarily laughed to the sky. Now, no one could stop him from escaping. Purifying demonic lotus saint, do you think that you can destroy me like this? I am a divine object, and will naturally be protected by the world. Ha ha. The purifying demonic lotus flame was going somewhat crazy. He was finally going to escape after thousands of years of being sealed. How could he not be excited enough to lose himself? However, this wild laughter did not continue for long before the purifying demonic lotus flame gradually regained his calm. Suddenly, he lowered his head. His eyes were surprised as he scanned the point where the light pillars had crossed. He sensed a lot of auras present at that spot. Still alive? How is this possible? The cream-white flame that lingered over the sky slowly paled. A faint light circle appeared in front of the purifying demonic lotus flame's eyes after the flame disappeared. Xiao Yan was at the middle of this light circle. The ancestor of the Pill Tower, Old Man Hun Mo, and everyone else did not appear to have suffered any serious injuries despite appearing a little miserable. At this moment, not only was the purifying demonic lotus flame stunned, even the ancestor of the Pill Tower and the others were in a daze as they looked at the light circle around them. This light circle might appear weak, but it was able to block an attack that could destroy a 6-star Doshing. This is. Everyone exchanged glances with each other. Clearly, none of them understood what had just occurred. Xiao Yan Ge. Zana suddenly exclaimed while everyone was feeling lost. All pairs of eyes shifted, only to see that Xiao Yang seemed to have descended into an unconscious state. His body, however, was emitting a faint glow. This glow slowly gathered on the surface of his body. Finally, it turned into a somewhat illusionary human figure. Purifying demonic lotus flame. Everyone was greatly shocked when this human figure appeared, because the appearance of this person was identical to the purifying demonic lotus flame in the sky. No, it is not the purifying demonic lotus flame. It is the purifying demonic lotus saint. The ancestor from the Pill Tower stared at the figure outside of Xiao Yang's body with startled eyes. He suddenly seemed to have detected something and cried out in shock. What? Everyone felt something exploded above their scalps after hearing these words. Why would this ultimate expert, who was rumored to have died thousands of years ago, suddenly appear on Xiao Yang? Xiao Yang, whose eyes were tightly shut, suddenly trembled while everyone was feeling shocked. Both of his eyes were slowly opened, but his dark black eyes had turned cream white. His eyes slowly roamed over the people present. Those people his eyes met would involuntarily feel a desire to worship him as a fluttering feeling materialized deep within their soul. Even an expert as strong as Old Man Hun Mo was no exception. The purifying demonic lotus saint was an expert known as the closest to the Do D class back then. Who would have thought that he would appear again in this state? This video will end here.